We're joined by Alec Jones, an American shock jock. He's been campaigning for more openness at the Bilderberg conference. David Aronovich, who's always sniffy about conspiracy theories. He's a columnist for The Times. Alec Jones, you've been covering Bilderberg for a long time. What have you ever found out about it?
In that piece you just played, there's nothing in the water. Hydrofluorosilicic acid in major Harvard studies has been causing a 7-fold increase in bone cancer.
To do with Bilderberg.
What have I discovered about Bilderberg? The BBC was able to get the documents decades ago that they helped found the euro, which was actually a Nazi German plan to take over countries economically. No, that's on record. And I've interviewed members of the EU Parliament on the subject who were out there at the event.
But what's that?
3,000 people. They turned 1,000. Bilderberg is heavily involved in the EU plan and helped hatch it, and it is a Nazi plan.
It's sometimes alleged that the funds that came to the European movement had come in often rather curious ways from the CIA in the United States. Is it anything you've heard?
Yeah, and I was absolutely astonished by it. I was rather tickled about it. Frankly, I didn't care where the money came from. I didn't know about it. It could come from anywhere, as long as it was there to do the job.
That allegation that the CIA were involved in promoting a united Europe. It was the simplest of questions which led to the most surprising discovery about Edward Heath's campaign to persuade the British people that to join the EEC was in their best national interests. Who paid for the European movement? Who financed the publicity campaign? Dr. Richard Aldrich teaches in the Department of Politics at Nottingham University, where he edits the Journal of Intelligence and National Security. And while researching the links between the CIA and the ideal of a united Europe, Aldrich found himself working in the library of Georgetown University in Washington.
I was absolutely astonished to discover that the library had the entire archive of a CIA front organization, which documents from start to finish, funneling millions of dollars into Europe, into Britain, with all its accounts, with all its receipts, with correspondence, for example, from British Labour MPs to individuals in American intelligence organizations. And so I was absolutely astonished when I opened these dusty brown cardboard boxes, which weren't considered to be terribly important, and discovered one of the most exciting intelligence archives, perhaps, of the post-war period.
So if the CIA were bankrolling European Union, how come that no one noticed who was paying the piper?
The whole accounting structure of the European movement was designed to hide the fact that CIA money was coming in, and the way this was done was to have a core budget that covered the fairly mundane activities of running the European movement's office, paying for the cleaners, paying for the typewriters. All this came out of money that was generated in Europe, and the CIA money was hidden by putting most of the operational costs of the European movement, for example the European Youth Campaign, into these special budgets, which were not subject to the normal accounting procedures. It was possible to hide CIA money and indeed make sure that most people in the European movement were unaware that the CIA money was coming in. Very few people at the top were actually aware of where this funding was coming from.
They had Lockheed scandals, just like the big lobbying scandals right now in the 70s, and that's why the SS officer, Prince Bernhard, the founder, had to step down. It is the ultimate lobbying meeting while you guys have this huge scandal going on. Your prime minister's going there. Balls was just here, Bilderberg Group member. We have forced them from cover to admit that there are puppeteers above the major parties.
David around. So now we know now we know that Bilderberg has given us the euro.
Yes, I mean, if you talk to Alex for any length of time, you discover all kinds of things that you didn't know about the world.
We've blown it wide open.
You have. You have absolutely blown it wide open. But it leaves me with a huge question for you, Alex. And it's really, you have uncovered the New World Order, which is deadly. It's full of what you call people who are criminals. Well, this is what I'm coming to. It's full of criminals, etc., who seek to run the world and will kill anybody who gets in their way. And you are almost, or have been, a lone crusader powering against them.
No,
so how come?
How am I alive?
How are you still alive?
Why am I alive?
Well, no, which is yes. Listen,
why am I alive?
Which is the explanation? One, they don't exist. Or two, you're part of the conspiracy.
No, let me tell you a story. Let me tell you a story.
I say the first.
5 years ago when Obama and Hillary...
I say the second.
5 years ago when Hillary and Obama were at Bilderberg and the Secret Service was there in helicopters, the New York Times came out and said I was crazy. There was no Bilderberg Group meeting. And my wife got phone calls, and so did I, threatening to kill us. And the people said, and you better take it serious because you were just talking to your dad that was in the hospital. You better shut your mouth or we're going to cut your head off.
But
now
they were going to kill you,
they listen to everybody's phone lines. They call up and harass people that expose them and tell them what they were just talking about.
They harass
You're going to say there's no spying.
Alex,
It's like Nazi Germany. You only spy on the bad guys, huh?
You let him speak now.
Well,
sure.
Alex,
I saw one of your ministers say this, though.
No, Alex, I'm here.
It's tyranny.
No, shut up.
Infowars.com.
I'm here to testify that your head was not cut off.
Ladies and gentlemen, if they kill me, it turns me into a martyr. It puts big exclamation points on the end of what I've said, and I have put out a lot of information. There's millions of others that are exposing it. And look, we have mega banks that are getting $85 billion a month of U.S. taxpayer money. Most of it goes to Europe and England. British taxpayers, EU taxpayers have to pay to these mega bankers. They're in there setting this up. It's come out. And then the media distracts you with, look at a guy that talked to a lobbyist when the real lobbyist is going on.
Listen, You're not going to dominate this. He gets to speak too. It's not your own radio show. Should we be worried about Bilderberg Group at all?
It's it's mildly interesting, the Bilderberg Group, and it feels, doesn't it, when you were talking about it in the film, slightly kind of out of date as belonging to the era when you couldn't, when you couldn't even admit in Parliament that there was a secret, when we called the head of MI5M or whatever it was we called them, we couldn't admit to these things. Yeah. And so, to the extent that it seems
people weren't ready to be spied on yet.
What was that a fact?
People hadn't been acclimated yet.
Did you let him finish?
We're in a police state. It's 1984.
Yeah, listen,
you guys just want to normalize it.
Would you let him
Alex,
finish?
how come you're here? If we're in a police state, how come
they actually turned back some of my reporters, but they didn't turn me back, and I was told this because they don't want to make a stink.
Do you think the BBC is part of the Bilderberg Group?
Well, Winston Smith did work here. I mean, come on, Eric Blair worked here, and that's what he said it was.
Why do you think we've let you on? Why have we let you on then?
because you guys think that you can manage the whole thing, and now our information's gotten too big. I have 3 million radio listeners a day. That's a low number. 3 million. I get about 50 million YouTube views a month. That's a very conservative number. I make films, put them online for free, that get watched 40 million times, like the Obama deception. And that's why, because the establishment doesn't know what to do.
Now, Alex has this point, and it's an important one. I would have, say, 10 years ago said, listen to all this stuff. He believes that people put cancer virus in vaccine in order to create a eugenics program. That's what he believes.
We talk about medical discoveries.
And we would have said, and I would have said, hey, that's kind of mad and so on. And it's an interesting psychological phenomenon.
Like Tuskegee, blackmail and syphilis.
The problem is that conspiracy theories like this are believed in.
Hey, listen, I'm here to warn people. You keep telling me to shut up. This isn't a game. Okay, our government in the U.S. is building FEMA camps. We have an NDAA where they disappear people now. You have this arrest for public safety, life in prison.
You are the worst person I've ever interviewed.
No, it's basically off with their heads, disappear
David,
them,
thank you for being with us.
Infowars.com.
11:30. You're watching the Sunday Politics. We have an idiot on the program today. Coming up in just 20 minutes.
You will not stop the Republic. Humanity is awakening. Infowars.com. No. You guys are crazy.
I'll be looking at the week ahead with our political panel. Until then, the Sunday Politics across the UK.
Thinking the public